what we've focused on this boost feature and earning tokens, which can be exchanged for impressions, because that's what people want. They want to be heard. Mm-hmm. And so if in some cases, people will get better reach on Minds than on Facebook or Twitter.
Thank you to my sponsor, Cake Wallet, where you can store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero safely on your iOS and Android devices. MetalPay, how banking was meant to be. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. I'm really excited. I've got an awesome guest today, one that you guys have been requesting I have on for a while. So I've got Bill Ottman here, the founder and CEO of Minds. So Bill, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So for those of you that have watched my channel for a while, you know that decentralized and alternative social media platforms have a special place in my heart, as that's kind of how I got involved in the space a few years ago through blogging on Steemit. And now Minds is also one of the longest running kind of alternative social platforms out there. And so just to kick off, can you give us a high-level overview of what Minds is, kind of what your mission is, and what type of content people are posting on there?
Sure. Yeah. So Minds is an open source crypto social network. We have mobile apps on iOS and Android. You know, you can do most of what you can do on other big social networks. You know, the weird thing to me about social media now is that all the apps are kind of coalescing into some version of the same thing in a way. And so, you know, that's why you're seeing stories happen on every major app, and you know, they're all sort of picking and choosing features that make sense and that people like. So I mean, not to say that we're definitely not following the crowd, but I think that there is sort of global consensus on what people enjoy for sharing. So, you know, you can upload video. We actually are rolling out a stories feature, but the main differentiator is you have a wallet and you can earn crypto. We have Minds token, which is an Ethereum based token, but also Bitcoin and Ethereum and fiat, and you can earn for traffic that you drive, you can earn for engagement that you receive. And yeah, I mean, we're really working on a pretty radical revenue sharing system now where essentially you can submit content to the exclusive library on the site, and if it gains traffic, then we pay you out a revenue share for the traffic that it gained in proportion to all the other exclusive content. So we honestly have like 5 different payout systems that we're experimenting with just to see what works the best.
Got it. Because that was one of the big questions I had for you, was the kind of monetization piece of it. Because I think that's a really kind of compelling story to talk about, being able to earn for your activity and your engagement versus the other way around on social media platforms where, you know, they're the ones benefiting from it. So can you maybe dive a little bit deeper into how that works and some of those different?
Yeah, definitely. So for everybody, we pay out in tokens, which are the Minds tokens. And that's for engagement that you receive, referrals that you make. And, you know, that's been going pretty well overall. One token will give you 1,000 views. So you can use the token to boost your own content for more views. That's pretty much the main utility of it. You can tip other users and whatnot. But we have recently noticed some people trying to game it, or I mean, people game it on multiple levels. So like we used to reward just for posting, but then that became impossible because people were gaming that. So we said, no, you need to receive the engagement. And then you have these little rings of annoying people who go and just like engage on each other's content just to get the tokens. And so now we're saying, well, how can we actually incentivize authentic engagement that actually helps the network? Because, you know, we're the ones building the incentives, and realistically, I don't think people are necessarily malicious. They just they see the system and then they do what the system is telling them to do. Right. So, you know, we've been considering migrating some of the rewards towards, like, if you can help us tag content properly or organize content properly, or, you know, things that are productive no matter what. So in terms of the other monetization, we do have membership tiers similar to Patreon. So you can put content behind paywalls and set up your own memberships. Recurring crypto is really difficult. So that's only available for
Right.
fiat right now.
Mm.
But hopefully the recurring crypto will keep evolving. And then we have two premium membership tiers, Mine's Plus and Mine's Pro. And Minds Plus is what enables you to access all the exclusive content on the site and post into it to earn. And then Pro, actually, you can get a custom domain with your channel and more video features. And you can actually earn for page views that you drive, and we'll pay you out in fiat, crypto, however you want. So we're trying to push this like co-op model where we're taking in premium membership revenue and sharing it with the people who help make it successful.
Got it. Okay. No, thanks for breaking that down a little bit. And what I loved hearing you talk about was just kind of the experimentation piece of it, because sometimes things sound really good in theory, but then, like you said, people are opportunistic, right? And find ways to kind of work around that. And so that's great that you guys have been experimenting so much with different models.
Yeah, I mean, incentives are, I honestly am somewhat thankful for people who try to game us and report it, and it just helps us understand where we need to move and where we need to improve. So yeah, I mean, in the crypto community, there's so many ethical hackers who help find issues and report them, and they'll be like, oh, guess I just earned a lot of tokens doing this, you should check on this. So, and we I think Steemit absolutely, and now Hive have done really interesting things. We've been trying to avoid giving too much voting power based on your holdings. I think that can get a little bit hairy.
Yes.
As I'm sure you know. And so we're looking at building in a reputation system so that you can actually earn voting power in different hashtags or categories based on the engagement that you receive in that tag from other people with higher reputation in that tag. So you're sort of earning credibility from other people who have earned credibility in specific categories. Because I think one of the biggest issues with social media is obviously misinformation, disinformation, bots. Right. And so building cred within categories, I think, is really powerful, so that you could potentially like filter comments by people, who have more cred. And so we're really interested in decentralized reputation.
Got it. So one of the things that I've noticed, because I use a few different alternative and decentralized social sites, is that kind of barrier to initial understanding for a new user can be really tricky. So trying to explain what these tokens are that you're earning, how it works, like there's a few more layers of complexity than, like, let's say just posting on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, right? And so how have you guys gone about trying to improve that user experience and kind of lower those barriers of initial understanding?
Yeah, so we had a point system before ever even moving to Ethereum that we were just running on our own servers. And so we migrated that system to Ethereum, and we built a whole off-chain component so that you wouldn't have to deal with all the gas fees.
Right.
And that has proved really successful overall. I mean, we're getting many thousands of transactions a day, and all the gas fees are not affecting us that much. But we are considering moving that off-chain system to more of a layer 2 system, so they can have more transparency and actually be on a chain, and potentially bring in staking and validators and that type of stuff. But the off-chain has made it so you just start earning, and you don't, it feels like points on another gamified app. But I mean, Yeah, there's definitely learning curves. Like in our wallet, it makes reference to off-chain tokens versus on-chain tokens, and you actually
Right.
have to pull the off-chain tokens on-chain in order to, and we encourage that, and we actually even reward for on-chain usage more so. But yeah, we're just trying to figure out what the best layer two situation is, and there's just we're trying to keep up with everything happening in Ethereum right now, to be honest, because it's insane just
Mm.
where everything is moving, and truly incentivizing people to hold and stake. And it's like, why do I want to stake with that token? What why wouldn't I just
Mm.
earn my mines tokens and then go swap them for something else? Then when I want to boost on mines, I can easily go and get the token somewhere. And so it's all about incentives. And I'm curious from your perspective, like
Mm.
what makes you want to hold a decentralized social platforms token versus get rid of it?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good question. I think that there's a few kind of potential avenues that could go. Like one of them being, if your vote weight is dependent upon that, that's
Mm-hmm.
nice to be able to kind of reward your commenters with nice upvotes or content that you like within the ecosystem. But also if there's some sort of kind of reward for staking and for holding it long term, like if I'm getting a return on that, then I might be willing to stake something and kind of
Yep.
lock it up for a little bit. But sometimes it's even just, I know this sounds funny, but more of a psychology perspective. Like there's it's almost like a reputation score within itself. Like if depending how involved in the community you are, it might be kind of like a social proof type of thing where you're like, hey, I'm really involved in this community, I'm really excited about it, I have X amount of tokens I'm holding. So I think there's a lot there, both from a financial standpoint and a just kind of psychology standpoint.
Yeah, that's true too. That holding them, if that increases your voting power, there is sort of an interesting incentive there to hold, but I think that can get carried away
Yeah.
if there's too much. And then I guess the other thing to bring up, this is a teaser for something that's coming next month, but we've partnered with a decentralized storage network. Are you
Mm.
familiar with Arweave?
Oh, I've heard of them, but I haven't looked into them too much.
So yeah, it's really incredible. I mean, we've been trying to figure out ways to put content onto decentralized systems
Mm.
for a long time. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of places saying that they've been working on it for years and they don't have a working product yet. And
Right.
so Arweave has this they call it the permaweb. And so on Minds, you'll be able to post. You don't have to post to the permaweb, but you
Mm.
will be able to optionally,
Okay.
so that it can never be deleted. And that's scary in a way,
Right.
but it's also uncensorability is a really
Mm.
important value that people want in certain contexts and definitely do not want in other contexts. So
Right.
I think that's sort of the paradox of blockchain in a way, is like the
Mhm.
permanence of it. And but I think that people deserve that right to know that they're going to post something and we can't delete it or censor them.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I'm really excited about that because it takes our argument for decentralization to a new level. And, I think no one's fully decentralized, but we're all sort of on a path of trying to get there.
No, I think that's really interesting, and cool that you brought that up, because anytime you can remove those layers of trust, then that allows for people to have more confidence in those decentralized components, and I think that's been a really interesting thing to watch in this industry of decentralized social media sites. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, is the varying layers of decentralization and what's the best solution. So how have you guys kind of approached that? Because obviously sometimes having more centralized components allow you to control the user experience a little bit more, and sometimes it's better to have it fully decentralized or not. So what's been Mind's approach to that conversation?
I mean, we have definitely been more on the centralized side of things, just because when we initially started, blockchain wasn't even a thing. We started back, I mean, it maybe was starting to be, but we started off with just being fully open source, trying to push open source as like the core principle. Like all of our code is public. Anyone can audit it. We're not doing any shady stuff with algorithms. And,
Right.
now you have open source decentralized. And I think, there's a lot of alternatives out there that aren't even open source, but they're crypto, and they're saying they're
Right.
decentralized, but they're not
Yeah.
open source. So it's like, well, that's only half of it. You can't hide your code and pretend that you're being like more in the user's interest.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we decentralize as much as possible where it makes sense without compromising user experience. So um, with Ethereum, we actually did compromise the user experience a little bit, but it was worth it because the old point system was just so easy and there was no complexity. It was totally obvious to everybody. But I think the benefits overrode some of those sacrifices. And now with Arweave, that's going to be super easy user experience, no issue for the user. So that totally makes sense. We've integrated web torrents for some peer-to-peer video
Yeah.
bandwidth, and that did not affect user experience. So that's all positive. And we definitely are just going to keep making those moves. And we're going to be setting up a DAO and doing things that make sense and are not impossible for people to figure out when they sign up.
Mm. So to kind of close out, I'd really love to hear your thoughts as a CEO of one of the top, alternative decentralized social media sites. Is, we're starting to see more and more people become aware of privacy and of their data, and the fact that these companies, these social platforms, are kind of mining their information and selling them to advertisers. And so it seems like the public perception is starting to shift a little bit more towards wanting alternatives. So what are your thoughts on how these alternative social sites will play into kind of that narrative, and what's the future of this space look like?
Yeah, I mean, The Social Dilemma just came out on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to watch it. It seems a little bit just from the previews, like they're featuring a lot of people who aren't truly into alternative decentralized social media. They're sort of talking about
Right.
it's like former Facebook people who feel bad about what they did.
Right.
That's okay. It's good for them to feel bad, and it's good for them to work on other things. But I mean, I think that, yeah, people are going to start to have much higher standards for the apps that they use. And you're going to want to know with a degree of confidence that your data is encrypted and that, they're not selling your information. We don't require any personal information. Like, people can
Nice.
provide certain things that they want, certain, better recommendations. And I think like things like phone numbers, it's like you're never gonna find your friend who like automatically when you sign up if you don't deal with phone numbers. But I don't think that you should ever be forced to give a phone number.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that all these sites are going to keep growing. We're going to see ultimately, I think in the next 5 years, like a handful of alternative sites actually become fully competitive in terms of user base. And then that's really the interesting place to be, because then the mainstream audience is going to be in a position to say, oh, so there's this app and this app. They do essentially the same thing, but you're saying that this alternative app actually pays me and it doesn't spy on me.
Right.
When we can get to that point and the alternative companies are competitive functionally, completely, which we're not there yet, to be honest, none of us are, but we're going to get there, or at least be unnoticeably different. And I think most people will start choosing to at least sign up and say, why not? I mean, you're getting paid, your privacy is getting protected, your reach isn't going down. I mean, I guess the last thing I would say is that even though, we have a few million users, nothing compared to the hundreds of millions or billions on on Facebook, but most people on Facebook don't even get good reach.
Oh
Like
yeah, no.
you'll post and you'll get like 4 likes if you have like 100,000 followers.
Yep.
So the algorithm is so distorted at this point that it doesn't even matter that there's everybody's over there. So what we've focused on this boost feature and earning tokens, which can be exchanged for impressions, because that's what people want. They want to be heard. And so if in some cases people will get better reach on Minds than on Facebook or Twitter, which makes no sense, but that's what's going on, particularly for smaller to medium-sized content creators. So I think that we can, even if we're smaller, be really competitive in a number of ways.
Awesome. Well, it has been so much fun to have you on and get to chat more about Minds. I'm going to put the link to my Minds profile below. I'm brand new, so please come say hello, all of you that are watching this interview. So for those that are watching and want to get involved, want to sign up, want to start using Minds, where should they go?
Yeah, go to minds.com or the app stores. And yeah, hit me up, minds.com/Ottman.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Bill. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.